I don't know if that's going to get any straighter. This might be a crooked video, and that's fine with me. Microphone set. Obviously, this isn't something I've planned out very well. However, I had thoughts on Passover and how it relates to deliverance. When we came into deliverance and I started looking at the Bible through more of a spiritual lens and how we have this parallel between the spiritual and the physical, kind of being played out at the same time. I always thought about the Exodus story as being kind of a physical representation of deliverance. In fact, I titled this, because I actually took notes on something instead of just off the top of my head. We'll see how well I stick to them. I titled this Passover, a physical story of our spiritual Exodus. Beginning thoughts are kind of painting this picture of all of us, right, with our different backgrounds. Some of us may be from mainstream Christianity, from super charismatic Christianity. Some of us may be from outright paganry. Some of us may be from spiritually dead Hebrew mindsets still, right? Like still pushing for Torah and truth, but lacking the spirituality, which is kind of where I think that we were kind of headed there for a bit. There's this ebb and flow of, I'm coming out of mainstream Christianity and I'm unlearning all the stuff, and now, here's Torah, and now I get to learn everything again, and I'm getting super involved in the knowledge and the learning of things, and then it kind of starts to take a dive because you're not really pairing that with the Spirit a whole lot. So that's kind of where we were, and I see this picture painted thusly. Our background was our Egypt, right? Our spiritual Egypt. And, most of this stuff, if not all of it, probably isn't really new for anybody. This is just the thoughts I've had. This is definitely not, thus saith the Lord. This is thus thinketh Drew. But we have that picture painted of our spiritual Egypt. And what it looks like to walk out of that, to have our spiritual exodus out of there. And I think it's really beautifully paralleled within the scriptures and in the Exodus story. So we had our Egypt, we had our Pharaoh, right? We had our Pharaoh being whatever doctrine, you could even go as far as to say that Satan, the adversary, Hasatan, was our Pharaoh, right? Because he's trying to keep us back from moving forward into deliverance, right? We get called out of Egypt even though we didn't fully know the path, but we stepped out in faith and desired to serve our Elohim. So if you think about each time Moses comes to Pharaoh, he does so in faith and obedience. Remember, he was reluctant at first. He had this, some people say it was an excuse about his stuttering, right? Like, I'm slow to speech, you don't want me to do it. Or he actually did have a speech impediment. But either way, he was finding excuses to not do what Yah was telling him to do. I myself have lived that, very, very much in a similar way. Like, no, I'm gonna, I don't think you mean me. And turns out Yah knows what he's talking about, right? So we have this. Each time Moses comes to Pharaoh, he does so in faith and obedience. Each time he does so, another Egyptian god is mocked and Pharaoh is humiliated. So I can only imagine that each time this happens, right, if you take that and kind of juxtapose that with deliverance, each time this happens, Moses' faith had to have grown more and more, right? I could even see him being timid the first couple times, right? Like, I'm going to go in. Okay, I'm going to put this staff down. And, Aaron, stretch your hand out. Like, let's make sure we do all the stuff right. And then it works. And he's like, faith, faith is being increased. Each plague shows a different false god or demon being defeated through obedient faith. So the Israelites win their freedom, right? We all know the story. I don't have to tell you the whole thing. They're out of Egypt, but the path before them seems unsure. And at times they continue to have setbacks due to lack of faith and obedience, right? So they come out, they see these miracles. They see probably one of the biggest miracles that any human eyes have ever seen, which is the Red Sea is parted, right? I know that when I see miracles, when I see someone healed of an acute or chronic ailment, It increases my faith. It makes me question less. Yet somehow, these early Hebrews saw these amazing giant miracles, and it may have been like a good, kick in the pants for them to move forward some, but then they still just fell back on their own ways. They even complained, well, why didn't you just leave us there? So, take that and apply it how you will, right? So they have a leader who sets them straight and realigns their focus on the one who delivered them. Because it wasn't Moses who delivered them, right? He was just the vessel. He was the tool. Yah is our ultimate deliverer. So I think we all know about the obvious parallels between Moses and Yeshua. They were both sent to point the way to Yah, right? That was kind of their point. Amongst other things, I'm not saying that that anything was just one and done. But there are also some important differences. Moses was not divine. He sinned, and his people suffered for it. Yeshua is divine. He didn't sin, but yet he suffered for his people. Right? Two very important distinctions. If there's anyone out there that wants to kind of deify Moses, like that's not how it's intended to be. All right, so the Hebrews in Exodus were called to drive out their enemies so they could inhabit the land. Right, we know the stories. I believe it was the Canaanites, amongst others. Excuse me. Even the enemies that seemed too big and bad to fight. How many times have we come up against a demon where we're just like, I don't know what I'm going to do about this one. I don't know if we can get past this one. I don't know if I can get my deliverance from this thing, from my alcoholism, from my sexual perversion, from my doubt, from my fear, from my anger, any of these things. Yet every single time, Yah shows up because we have authority through Yeshua to do so. And so had the Israelites just done what Yah said, it would have gone much easier for them, right? They went into the land and they came back and said, oh, there's giants, and how are we supposed to do anything about giants? Like, well, you just saw the Red Sea get parted, man. Come on. Surely the same God who can part the Red Sea can knock down some giants for you. Where's your faith? Sorry, I wasn't planning on getting angry. I get a little riled up sometimes. But you get the point. So even when the enemy seemed too big and bad to fight, Yah still delivered them. I mean, they suffered for it, right? But in the end, they were still delivered. It was a fight the whole way. When they acted on Yah's word, he fought with them. He eradicated the enemy and thus increased the faith of his people. The more and more we fight with our focus being fixed on him, the more we win, and the stronger our faith is. And then the more we testify. And the more we testify, we bring others into the fold. So with faith comes boldness. With boldness comes testimony. With testimony comes witness. And bringing others to Yah. So remember, our deliverance isn't just about us. When we're truly free, we are better equipped to bring others to Yah and then continue the cycle through them. So there you go. I bet if I go through and I edit this video and I take out all the ums, it's only like a 3-minute video. But right now it's about 9 minutes, and I'm going to leave you with that. I love you guys. Happy Passover. Our lamb is about done, and I'm going to go chomp on it. Shalom.